Good evening duelists, today I want to show you the deck that I used to get into the master rank last season. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to grind as much, and also I started from plat 5, so I wasn't able to reach master 1. I think I only get into master 3 or master 4, I kinda forget, but yeah, it's fine. So this is the deck that I played. This is a deck from last year, which is Mitsurugi Ryzeal, and yes, this deck still performs quite well. Mitsurugi by itself is already good, but pairing it with Ryzeal gives it an extra edge to push it even further. Even without the cross Omni Negate, Ryzeal provides so much value in Mitsurugi. You get more pushes, Detonator is still a good endboard piece, X can also be a board breaker, and of course they also act as starter to search for Habakiri. Now the highlight of this deck is not the engine itself, but rather the hand traps, but we kinda need to discuss about the engine first before we go there, so let's look at the Mitsurugi card first. It is pretty standard. We have 2 Habakiri because it is semi-limited, we also have 1 Futsu and 1 Murakumo. And I know a lot of decklists play 2 Murakumo, which I actually kinda want to do that too. But you know, same old story, Murakumo is a UR and I don't have the UR craft point. But in fairness, when I play this deck, I never actually encounter a moment where I need the second Murakumo. So I don't think the second Murakumo is mandatory, and you can definitely make it work with just 1. And then for the level 4, we have 1 Aramasa, 1 Kusanagi, and 1 Sachi. Again, you might want to have the second Aramasa because it searches Habakiri, but it's also a UR, so yeah. And now for the spells, we have 1 limited prayers, 3 rituals, 1 mirror, and 1 Makatama. The limitation on the prayer does matter because it is a starter, an extender, and also an endboard piece. And so you do need to have multiple rituals on your deck, because now you can search the second ritual instead of taking it back from the graveyard using Kusanagi and then use Kusanagi on more important card. And then we have Mirror for pre-prep. This card is great unless you also open Mirror. Now you have potentially 2 dead cards in your hand. And then finally, Makatama is, I would say, the most underutilized card in this engine. Most people just use it for the first effect, which is to tribute 1 reptile and pop 1 card, which is fine. It is definitely not bad, especially because you can tribute your level 4, but it is also not the greatest, because unlike the trap, it is not a negate. The second effect is the one that most people forget. It is to ritual summon a Mitsurugi ritual monster from your hand by tributing monster on your field with total level equal or exceeds the ritual summon monster. And the most important part of this effect is the material that you tribute to ritual summon does not need to be a reptile, unlike the other ritual summon, which means you can also tribute to Ryzeal if needed. It also does not need to be the exact level, but it might be more relevant if you play other engines that is not a level 4. And finally, we have the trap, which is an Omni Negate. One distinction of this card compared to any other trap Omni Negate is, well, first of all, it is not a counter trap, but also it negates the effect, not the activation. So it might have more value there. Now let's go into the Ryzeal engine. We try to make it as compact as possible, so we have 3 eyes, 1 X, 1 sword, and 1 node. The reason why Ryzeal works so well as an engine is because the only quote-unquote brick is node, right? And the rest of them are starters and extenders, which gives us a lot of pushes. And that's also why we are not putting the other cards, which theoretically increases your ceiling, but it would just make your opening hand worse for most of the time. Now that the engine is done, let's talk about the highlight of this deck, which is Fydraulis Harmonia and Dominus Impulse. So Impulse is a hand trap card that negates the effect to special summon, and it can be activated immediately from the hand if your opponent controls a card. It is a really strong effect, but it comes with a heavy deck building restriction. If you activate this card from the hand, then for the rest of the duel, you cannot activate the effect of a light, earth, or wind monster at all. And half of the Ryzeal is light monsters, which means they will become useless after using Impulse, sort of. And then Fydraulis Harmonia, on the other hand, is a monster hand trap to special summon himself, send a synchro monster from your extra deck to your graveyard, and also destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. It is also a strong effect, but again, it is also comes with its own restriction. So until the end of your next turn, you cannot activate the effect of monster special summon from extra deck except for synchro monster. And Ryzeal is of course an Axis archetype. So what gives? Why do we play these hand traps with Ryzeal engine in the same deck that clearly doesn't work with each other? And the answer to that is, well, the benefit that they provide is so high, and also we can still play around the restriction. So the restriction on Impulse says we cannot activate light monster effect, but we can still summon them. And Ryzeal special summoning effect is not an activated effect, but rather a built-in summon. So while we cannot go into Detonator, we can still use X as a board breaker by sending Mereologic Aggregator from the extra deck to the graveyard. And it is also still a level 4 body. And that is the idea behind Impulse. Now I only put 2 of these here because I only have 2. I would put the third one if I have it. But you know, crafting point, yada yada, let's move on. Now, about Fydraulis, the restriction says you cannot activate effect of monster special summon from the extra deck except for synchro monster, right? But you can still summon them, and also you can still activate the effect of Axis monster special summon from the graveyard. So depending on your hand, you can still go into Detonator, send it to the graveyard alongside Eclipse Twin, and then revive the Detonator with 2 materials that you can activate. It wouldn't be so often, but it can happen. So yeah, that is the idea how Fydraulis and Impulse can still work with Ryzeal engine despite the restriction. And also, the addition of Dominus Spark in the newest selection pack will also kinda work with this deck, even though it will shut down the other half of Ryzeal, because the other half of Ryzeal is fire, of course. But with the same idea as Impulse, you can still special summon your fire Ryzeal, the sword and the note, just without searching. So then the next question is, which card do you take for Spark, right? And I would say there is an argument to be made to have this deck more than 40. Because we have some cards that we don't actually want to throw, something like Mirror or maybe Note, right? So we can mix it above 40 to bury those bricks. So yeah, other than that, nothing is of importance. Maxi, Ash, Fua, Koltai, the usual stuff. Let's look at the extra deck. First we have the Fydraulis target, we have Herald of course to search for Habakiri, and then we have Malong, Wind Pegasus, Omega, and also Packpit. We also have Duration. This is a level 11 synchro which we can make using Fydraulis and any level 4, but this is not really great. If you have the UR or if you have the card, then Psychic and Punisher is definitely better. And then we have King of the Feral Imps, the bridge that makes Ryzeal works with Mitsurugi in the first place. And then we have Ragnazero. This is absolutely my favorite card in Ryzeal Mitsurugi. It is a generic rank 4 with a quick effect. Target one attack position monster your opponent controls, whose attack is different from the original attack. Destroy it and then draw one card. A removal that throws you a card is always good, right? But you might be wondering, how do we fulfill all these conditions? Well, it is because of Habakiri. This card somehow makes all of your opponent monster lose 800 attack, which means Ragnazero is always online. Also, Ragnazero is a water monster which works under Impulse, so this is a rank 4 option that we go to if we use Impulse on the first turn. And then we have Dugares to throw us cards. And then we have the Ryzeal package, which is Duo Drive, Detonator, Eclipse Twins, and the Mereologic Aggregator for breaking board. And among this, I would say Duo Drive is probably not necessary, because if you open one of your Ryzeal, then there is nothing you can search with Duo Drive. And if you don't open your Ryzeal, then the chance of you getting 2 level 4 bodies on the field is pretty low, because we don't play the Night Sword Serpent and also prayer is limited. So yeah, I would probably take it out for an IP. So we play Dynamondo and SP, which kinda work when we try to break a board, but when we are going first, I always wish that I have IP instead. So yeah, I would probably take out the Duo Drive for an IP. You can also take out Duration and only have 5 synchro in the extra deck, but having 6 feels reassuring to me because now we can use Fydraulis twice. Another option for the extra deck is the rank 8 instead of the links. You can end with a monster negate with the Photon Lord, or you can go into Dragluxion, searching 7 Tachyon, bridge into your Ryzeal engine and ends with Harbinger, which is a spell negate. But that one would be a lot of commitment to your extra deck, so I don't really like it. And all of those options are light monster, and I would prefer to have more options when we are under Impulse. And that's why we have Ragnazero and SP, and also preferably IP. So yeah, that's the deck. Let's see how it works in action. Alright, this is the game that brings us to the Master Rank last season. We are going second and our hand is pretty good. We have Ash, X and Impulse and we are going against Dracotail. They activate Ketu and I decide to Ash it because we still have Impulse against their Rahu. Their Ketu is negated but then they activate Fairy Tail Ball. So now this is a Fairy Tail deck and now I start to reconsider where should I use my Impulse. They search Luna, normal summon Luna and search for Machikiru. So I thought, oh, we just Impulse their Machikiru trying to special summon because we don't want them to have 2 level 4 bodies on the field. But they activate the Eclipse spell to fusion summon instead. And now that I know my Impulse doesn't work, I will just not use it, right? And save it for our turn because I know they will summon on our turn. And I think this is a lesson about how to play your extender. You almost always want to have your hand hidden as much as possible and let your opponent waste their interaction. So here we let our opponent do their thing, we save our Impulse and we also save our X this way. They have the Omni Negate, which is Taylor, and then they go into Wicked. Wicked will send 2 cards from the deck to the graveyard, which they send a Snow and Luna. They activate Snow by banishing 7 to special summon herself, and it will trigger the Quick Play spell, which is once upon a Fairy Tail to set itself. This is the spell that will summon a lot of Fairy Tails in our turn. And then they go into Artemis and also Chorozo. This is mainly just to fill the graveyard so Snow will be online, and that's their turn. On our turn, we draw a Ritual, which is pretty good, and then we of course start with X sending Mereologic Aggregator. We chain block X using Aggregator targeting the Teller, and they chain ball to our X trying to cut off our play. But we still have 3 plays in our hand and I decide to start with just pre-prep because it will definitely bait interaction. And sure enough, they use Ash to negate it, which is what we want. And so the pre-prep is negated and then we go into Habakiri special summoning Aramasa and immediately tribute Aramasa. Aramasa will trigger in the graveyard to search for Murakumo. And then our opponent activates their Once Upon a Fairy Tail, which we already prepare our Impulse for. They activate the Teller, which is already negated, so I don't know why, but sure I guess. And so the chain resolved, their cards are negated, we move on, and then we activate Ritual to Ritual summon Murakumo from the hand. And then they chain with Snow, banishing a lot of cards including cards on their field. And so the chain resolved. Snow is summoned on their field and then we summon Murakumo from the hand by tributing Sachi and Kusanagi from the deck. And then a lot of triggers happen. First we activate Murakumo to destroy our opponent's monster, and then we activate Kusanagi to return Ritual from the graveyard, and then we activate Sachi to search spell or trap from the deck. And here our opponent activates Snow to flip face down X because flipping Murakumo doesn't do anything because we can still tribute it face down. And then they chain block it with the Once Upon a Fairy Tail to set itself back from the banishment. So we chain with Murakumo, and since they don't have cards to discard, then their effect is negated. X is flip face down, and then our opponent scoop because we just win here basically. So that's the first game, and I know it is not the greatest board to break, but I hope you can see how Ryzeal and Dominus Impulse interact there. Because even if we activate Impulse on the first turn, we can still use X to send Aggregator to challenge their Omni Negate. Also, we can still use X Buddy with other Mitsurugi level 4 to go into Ragna Zero that will be online on the following turn. So yeah, let's go into the next game. We are going second again because going first, people just scope when we are still able to push through after getting hit by 2 hand traps. So I don't have any good going first replay basically. Anyway, we have Fua and our opponent is on Branded. They summon Albaz by sending Albion and then they activate Albaz to special summon Ecclesia, so we activate Fua here. Fua does resolve, but I was so confused here, like where is my draw? And I just realized that our opponent special summon Ecclesia from their hand. And now look at this guy, playing their entire combo without giving me a single draw. And by the way, they are on Shadow Beast for some reason, which I thought was interesting. So their board ends on Ecclesia, they will summon Albaz to fuse with our monsters. There is also Cartesia and Albaz that will fuse into something else. And then there is also set F and V to destroy our cards, Retribution to negate a summon, and finally Grangwignol in the graveyard that probably will summon Wham from the deck. And this is where I make the sickest play of my life. So we draw Fua and immediately activate it because they will definitely summon from the extra deck. But most importantly, to check for Ash, And there is no trigger, so we activate prayer by tributing Sachi. So we get Aramasa and special summon Aramasa, and now Sachi and Aramasa trigger to search us from the deck. And you cannot just brute force your going first combo here, you need to see your opponent's game plan and adapt. So here I search for Murakumo and Makatama. Remember the second effect of Makatama? Right, so here we normal summon Ice, chain link one Ice, and for sure they activate Ecclesia to special summon Albaz because we have 2 monsters on our field. And this is where we activate Makatama to ritual summon Murakumo from the hand, and we can do this because Makatama does not need to tribute Reptile, so we can tribute our Ryzeal. And the most important detail here is our opponent only has a single card in their hand, which they will use for the Albaz discard, which means they will not have a discard for our Murakumo. So we special summon Sword, chain link 1 Murakumo to destroy their board, chain link 2 Sword to search, and then they activate Albaz by discarding a card, so we chain with Murakumo to negate their Albaz. And now that their board is going to be clear, they have no choice but to use Cartesia to fusion summon here, and the only target that they can go into is Dragon that devours the Dogma because it is unaffected, or anything else will just get destroyed by Murakumo on resolution. Now the question just becomes how do we out the tower, and we do have answers for that. We have the easy one and the complicated one, and I actually forgot about the easy one, which is just to make Dukares, because Dukares has an effect to double one of our monsters attack, but it's fine, it's not a big deal, we find another way. Anyway, our opponent uses Retribution here on Ritual, which definitely doesn't work because Retribution needs to shuffle back as part of the effect in order to negate, and the only target that they have is Dragon that devours the Dogma, which is also unaffected by their own card. So here I thought I was in clear, I just need to worry about a single pop, but I forgot that FNV has an effect to monster reborn. So here we activate Murakumo from the graveyard, and our opponent use FNV to steal our Murakumo. Well, it's fine, we get another ritual, we activate Futsu to special summon Aramasa from the graveyard, and our opponent activate Murakumo to clear our board. It triggers Grangguik Null to special summon Quem from the deck, which throws us a card, and Quem then sends the Golden Sword Soul from the deck to the graveyard. Having our Murakumo stolen is not great, but it actually clears our board so that X can search. So we send Aggregator, chainlink 1X, chainlink to Aggregator targeting Murakumo, and that also triggers Quem to special summon from the graveyard, but there is no target that we need to worry about. So they summon Albaz, we get Note, and then Albaz special summon Ecclesia that has already been used. We summon Note, and then we send Fua to special summon Sword from the graveyard. They try to use Murakumo, which is already been negated, so it doesn't matter. But we do need Murakumo to out the Dogma, so we kinda need to take our Murakumo back first. So here we activate Habakiri to summon Kusanagi, and then we tribute Kusanagi to get our prayer back from the graveyard because we will need that. And then we use Aramasa and X to go into our favorite card, which is Ragna Zero. Now we just need to lower our opponent's attack, so here we use Ritual to ritual summon Habakiri from the hand by tributing Habakiri from the deck. Habakiri then will trigger into graveyard to search a card, so we get our Omni-Negate Trap from that. And now that our opponent's attack is decreased, we can activate Ragna Zero to destroy our Murakumo and throw us a card. We draw a Fydraulis, which is really nice. We also have Murakumo on the graveyard to revive using either Prayer or Purification next turn. So here we go into Detonator to survive basically. We go into the battle phase, destroy their Albaz, Ecclesia, and also Quem, set our Prayer and Purification, and pass. And since they use FNV to Monster Reborn, not to destroy, they don't send card from their extra deck to the graveyard, which means they don't have any follow-up, which I think is a big mistake when playing Branded, because I feel like you always want to think about your main phase 3. Well, they throw a card and activate Retribution targeting High Spirit, and that tells me that they have monsters in their hand, so we activate Purification to negate it because we have multiple ways to deal with monsters already. Habakiri activates to search Ritual, they just go into the battle phase, crash our Detonator using their Dogma, but our Detonator have a Destruction Protection, and then main phase 2 they just set their monster and pass, which is an interesting decision. Alright, our turn, and we throw another Fydraulis, which is fine I guess. So now we just need to execute our plan to out the Dogma, so we activate Purification in the graveyard to special summon Murakumo and then just tribute Ragna Zero because we're done with her. We activate Murakumo to destroy their board, and it is a Shiren, that's why they set it face down. Well, they try to activate Shiren, but we do have Murakumo and our opponent don't have card in the hand, so it is negated. And then we activate Prayer to special summon Kusanagi from the graveyard, which will get us another level 4 from the graveyard, it doesn't matter which one. We normal summon Aramasa, and then using Aramasa and Kusanagi we go into Duo Drive that will increase our monster's attack. Duo Drive attach a Ryzeal from the graveyard, and now Murakumo is 3500 that can crash into the Dogma, and we have game on our board, so our opponent just scoop it here. And that's the game. Unfortunately, I didn't find any situation where I need to play around Fydraulis and Ryzeal at the same time, but I hope you get an idea from this. Also, I know that we use Duo Drive here to out the Dogma, but as I said before, you have an easier out, which is to Gares. So I still stand by what I said. You don't need Duo Drive in this deck, I think. Well, other than that, Makatama is great, Ragna Zero is great, probably add some Dominus Spark, change the duration into Psychic and Punisher. So yeah, just try this deck again if you want to. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.